just go ahead and introduce yourself for us and tell me a little bit about your business.
Sure. So my name is Kristi May, and I'm the founder of Legend Acres and Legends Heroes. And we specialize in 3 different areas of dog training, which are service dog, therapy dog, and behavior modification. And I'm a veteran, Army veteran. So 8 years in the military, and I was an instructor in the Army. So it really didn't take much of a leap to move into what I do. I actually went into the Army to go into veterinary medicine. But when I got into veterinary medicine, I found a big disconnect between veterinary medicine and animal behavior. And that we were recommending that people do something about their dog's behavior, but there was no resources to send anybody to. And so that's when I went back to school and got some additional degrees in behavior. And I started doing behavioral consultations in the veterinary world. And then that turned into puppy socialization classes, and then that turned into behavior modification, and then that turned into group classes. And so behavior very quickly kind of took over. And I stepped away from the veterinary world in 2014 to pursue this full time. And so this is what I do now.
So as for training, you focus specifically on dogs?
So we do dogs and horses. And with the horses side, we do a lot of like rehabilitation for like horses that have been injured, trauma, those kinds of things. Horses that have a hard time functioning, and as a normal horse is what we do. And I also do riding lessons as well. So I've got a lot of young kids in our program who it's building their confidence in and around horses and creating a good positive experience with horses.
Yeah, that's great. We raised horses and it was definitely a great experience. Keeps kids out of trouble for sure. So,
absolutely.
So where's the whole operation located? Where's the world headquarters of Legend Acres?
So we are in Surprise, Arizona is the main headquarters where everything is located, but we also have a location in Tennessee and Missouri. So we have physical locations in in 3 states. And then we also have an online program. And so we really reach people wherever they're at.
So you're a pretty busy person then these days, I would suppose.
Yes, you can say that.
You mentioned the online component. Tell me, I have a feeling what might have pushed you a little harder in that direction, but sort of how did you fall into the online training world?
So we've actually fell into the online training world a lot sooner than everybody else did, because when I opened my location, I was still stationed at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. And so that's why we have that location in Tennessee. And when we started our service dog training program, we were finding that we were starting training as service members were exiting the military. And they weren't necessarily done with their training, and they were moving. Their time in the service was done, and they were either moving back home or going wherever a job was going to take them. And so we had to become online very quickly to be able to complete the training with those clients, to be able to finish them all the way out to service dog. So we were online before it was popular to be online. And then during COVID, we actually went into the studio and we filmed our classes. And so like we did them live in the studio. And so now we have a library of on-demand classes that you can access at any time, because we have those recordings already built into our training programs.
That's great. So you were ready for COVID to happen. That's a good thing. What types of issues do most dog owners come to you with? Is there like a top 3?
So there is a top 3. So usually they're coming to us because they want to take their dog on for service dog training. They want to take their dog on for therapy training, or they're having behavior issues. And so we deal with reactivity and aggression in dogs. So dogs who like won't let guests come in the house, dogs that are reactive on leash. So like when you're walking across your neighborhood and your dog sees another dog, this is the dog that's barking and lunging at them the whole entire time that you're trying to pass them. And so those are the big things that those are really the big 3 things that people come to us for.
So does the human have some role in this dog training exercise?
Absolutely. And so I always make the joke that it's about 60-40. So it's about 40% of the dog and it's about 60% of the person and the handler. And because of that, we have a board and train program, but we don't utilize it in the way that a lot of other companies utilize board and train, because I can take your dog and I can get your dog to do anything that I needed to do in that 2-week time frame that it's with me. But as soon as I turn it over to you back at home, unless you change or know how to communicate with your dog, you're going to find that your dog's behaviors go right back to the same dog that you had. In about 2 to 3 weeks is all it takes for them to revert back to their old behaviors.
Awesome. What is your everyday? Sort of describe what's your everyday like?
So my everyday is a little bit different just because of scheduling. And so every morning I start my day with office hours because we have a tremendous admin team behind this company. And so I'm getting them started for the day, answering any questions, answering client questions, those kinds of things. And then I usually set out for private in-home sessions. And then in the afternoons and evenings, I do a lot of group classes and outdoor classes. So my next appointment, we're going to the park because it's a reactive dog. And so we need outside distractions to be able to work on the reactivity with this dog. And then tonight I've got group classes in Whitman. So I'll have 3 hours of classes tonight, group classes.
Wow. Do you love what you do?
I absolutely love what I do.
What is it that really drives you every day to go out and work with the dogs and the people?
So what drives me is that we can always do better. So we as people can always do better for ourselves, and we as people can always do better for our dogs. And that a lot of the dogs that I work with, they have a job and a purpose that they're working towards. And so it's helping them achieve their goals.
Awesome. What sets you guys apart from other dog training facilities?
So we do things a little bit differently, like I said, with even our board and trains in taking in dogs. And so the only board and trains that we really take are going to be clients already existing you're going on vacation, and the dog's going to be boarding for a week, maybe 2 weeks. So what we do is we do drop-in sessions to kind of just keep if you're in a class right now, just to kind of keep that stuff active in your dog's mind when you come back, so that you don't have any setbacks in your training. But the approach that we take, our philosophy, so we are 100% force-free, fear-free. We don't use any adversives. So we don't allow the use of shock collars or pinch collars in any of our courses, or choke chains, anything like that. Everything that we do is from a behavioral approach. So it's not just covering up the why your dog is barking, but we want to get to the bottom of why is your dog barking? And then we need to solve that problem before we can solve the barking issue, because we don't just want to put a Band-Aid on behavior. We want to set dogs up for success, and we want to teach them how to make their own decisions and how to make their own good decisions. And so that is very different than the idea of obedience, which is what most people think of with dog training. So our curriculum does cover obedience. We teach things like sit, down, stay, and how to walk on a leash, because there's just some manners and things that need to be established with some dogs. Some dogs fall right great in your house. You don't ever have to teach them anything, and they just pick up on it. Not every dog does that, though. But our curriculum also includes canine cognition exercises. And so those canine cognition exercises are games that are included in our program and in homework that teach dogs to slow down, process, and think through what's actually happening in front of them, and not necessarily just responding emotionally to what's going on around them, but actually think through the process. Is that dog on the other side of the street really going to come into my space? No. Okay, that dog is minding its own business on the other side of the street. It's not something that we need to worry about. And then because of that, we're also we're working with reversing trauma in dogs and canine anxiety. But also, these are the tools that we use for service dogs. Service dogs are going to have to make decisions when there isn't direction to make a decision, especially if there's, in case of an emergency, teaching a service dog to go get somebody, to go get help. So these dogs need to learn how to make their own decisions and not be micromanaged. And so that's a very different way of doing things than the average idea of obedience.
Does getting your dog trained properly, can that have a life-changing impact on people or their family?
Absolutely. So, for example, I just worked with a client who their family doesn't want to come over and visit because of the dog's behavior. And so, when you have a dog that you can communicate with and you can, get people into your house without people not wanting to come over and see, or being able to get the dog out. There's a lot of people who are stuck. They can't go on vacation because their dogs won't let people in the house. So there's no way that a pet sitter is going to be able to come in and take care of them, or they're going to be able to board. And so there's a lot of things in having a well-rounded, balanced dog that can go places and do things and be part of the family instead of being, shut out into another room every time guests come over.
What's the impact, or what could the impact be if someone doesn't train their dog properly?
So the impacts that we see when dogs are not trained properly is euthanasia.
That's quite an impact.
Yes, it is. So
Wow.
the other thing that we see too is the number of dogs that are turned over into rescues and humane societies. So the average age of a dog in a shelter in the United States right now is roughly 8 to 10 months of age.
Because people give up on them and they drop them off, or they let them go or something like that. That's
right.
bad.
Right. So what happens is that when dogs go through their last adolescence phase around 8 to 10 months of age. And so we coin that the teenage years of dogs. Okay. So if you don't have a relationship already established with your dog and communication open, when you hit those teenage years, it's a rough time for people who know and are expecting those behaviors from your dog. But when you don't have anything else established and that hits, that's when dogs get turned over, and then a lot of those dogs end up being euthanized because nobody has ever taken the time with them. So the dogs don't even understand their expectations of how to live in a house or how to live with a family or how to behave around children or strangers or anything like that.
Do you have could you share like a tip with us, like just like one tip, maybe that's maybe one of the most common things that you see with someone's dog, and maybe just a little tip that you could give for people to improve that dog?
So socialization. And when I say the word socialization, most people imagine your dog with other dogs or interacting with strangers. But the definition of socialization is teaching dogs to live in the world that they live in. And so where socialization comes into play is that you want to name everything and introduce your dogs to everything that they could possibly encounter. And so socialization is something that we start with puppies as young as we can get them, 6 weeks old, if we can start that socialization process, because it's introducing them to things. It's not just people and dogs, but things like just introducing them to your cell phone, okay, your remote control, an ink pen, exposing them and having them understand the things that are in their environment changes your dog's behavior greatly, because dogs don't live in a world of right versus wrong. Dogs live in a world of safe versus unsafe. And dogs automatically put all unknown items into their unsafe pile. And when a dog's unknown, unsafe pile of the world is bigger than known and safe, what does that do to their behavior output? Okay, it makes them very fearful, very standoffish, very reactive to new things. They don't want anything to do with anything new or changes in the routine. So those are those dogs who, when the doorbell rings, they don't let that go, right? Like they're barking continuously even after the doorbell has rung. People can't come into the house, those kinds of things. And so with socialization, what you're doing is you're shuffling these unknown items, just simple things, everyday things, into known and safe. Well, when a dog's known and safe pile of the world is bigger than their unknown unsafe pile, then we can instill confidence in them and they can overcome those new things and actually investigate them and say, oh, that's just something I've never seen before. I've never seen a flag like that before. I've never seen a traffic cone quite that large before, but I can go investigate that thing and not just immediately shut it down as a not interested in doing. And so socialization, but understanding what socialization is, introducing your dogs to like the broom, the vacuum, the mop, the shovel, the wheelbarrow, the neighbor, the trash cans, like all just your everyday kind of things. And because of the language barrier, we fail to do that with a lot of our dogs, and then they don't understand what's happening around them. And so what happens then is they start to kind of come into their own little shell, and then their personal bubble space gets big. And so then that's where we see a lot of those reactive behaviors from dogs, is because they don't understand what's happening around them just on a day-to-day basis.
That's a great tip. Thank you. That's perfect. Thanks for sharing that. Let's talk about you a little bit, maybe a little personally. Like, do you have any hobbies? Do you have any charity work that you like to do? What do you do for fun? Like, tell us about you a little bit.
So I like to work.
We all do.
I like to be busy, but no, I have 2 horses, and I have 3 dogs, and I have family. I have 2 stepkids, and my husband. And so we moved here to Surprise to be closer to his family. And so he's from Phoenix, and so he grew up here. So he's an Arizona native, and so I'm a transplant, and I'm not complaining because I really like the weather here. And so because of that, I do get to do more with my horses, and I also enjoy kayaking and painting and reading as well.
Very nice. Horses will definitely take a lot of your time. We had them, and boy, they take a lot of your time.
But I wouldn't trade them for anything.
Very good. So how can people reach you? How can people sign up for your online courses, or how can they sign up for your in-person courses?
Sure. So the fastest way to find out anything about us, or what like the locations and classes, are going to be on our website. So that's www.legend-acres.com. So there's a dash in there between Legend and Acres, because if you just put in legendacres.com, you're going to find a mobile home is what you're going to find when you go to that website. So you would definitely want to put that hyphen in between there. You can also Google Legend Acres, and we come up to find our website. And so from that website, you can schedule a free consultation. So if you have a dog and you just don't know where to start, or you have a reactive dog and you know that you are really dealing with behaviors, the first place to start is going to be with that free consultation. So we come to your house. So we'll do a free in-home consultation to make a training plan. I want to meet the dog, find out what's going on, how long have these symptoms been going on, how long has the dog been reactive. Because we want to rule out any medical issues before we move forward sometimes. And but again, if you just don't even know where to start, just start with that free consultation. And so get on a phone call. When you go on the website, you're scheduling a time, and one of our admin team will reach out to you at the time. At the time of your phone consultation, and you tell them a little bit about what you're looking for, where you're at, and then they can direct you to. So they know if you have a young dog and you're just looking to start, you're going to be in a fundamentals class. And so if you go to the website, you can choose locations online, Arizona or Tennessee, and you can click into there, and then it will show you all of the different locations where we have group classes. And you can click on each location, and then you'll find the class schedule. They're also all listed on our Facebook page as well. So you can find our information on Facebook, on Instagram. We're on TikTok, YouTube. There's a lot of social media places where you can find what we have going on with our classes. And so that's going to be the first place to start, is really on that website, and then looking at finding, like, is there a location close to you, or are you looking at the online options? And even again, if you have an older dog and you just don't know where to start, like you've rescued a dog and you're like, well, the dog kind of knows some things, I just don't know where to begin. Schedule that phone consult, because that phone consult will get you a meeting with me, whether it's online. So we do online virtual consultations, and then we also do in person.
Very good. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today and tell us about Legend Acres. Kristi Kay May was here with us today, legend-acres.com, and we'll put that up on the screen so people can see it. And yep. I thank you very much.
No, thank you. Also, if they want to give us you can text or call the office at 931-516-3064. So you can also reach the office that way. And so the calls that are scheduled have priority. So if you call us and don't get an answer, leave a voicemail or send a text, because I promise you, it's not because we're not answering the phones. It's just because we're on the other lines with those already scheduled phone consultations. So those do have priority versus like the people who are just calling in for the first time. And so a lot of times it's easier to just send a text because you'll get a text response even if someone's on the other line.
Right. All right. Thank you so much. And
All
you
right.
have a great day.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.